Back our political panel for reaction, CNN contributor and Democratic strategist Hillary Rosen, senior writer for the Washington Examiner Philip Klein, and national political correspondent for the New York Times Jonathan Martin. In addition to that 2011 failed deal that we were talking about before Boehner spoke, which he referred to again, and President Obama referred to earlier.
Really poisoning.
We also had this history lesson from Speaker Boehner talking about how it is not unusual for debt limit votes to be accompanied by legislation. Reagan and Tip O'Neill did it. Bush went out to Andrews Air Force Base, discussed with Democrats. Bill Clinton did it 3 times with Newt Gingrich. He's right. That is true. I'm not saying that we should be in a shutdown right now, but that is an accurate historical assessment, Hillary.
Except now I'm just legitimately confused, because a month ago, this all started with Ted Cruz and 30 or 40 Tea Party House members saying, we are going to shut down the government and not raise the debt ceiling unless they repeal Obamacare. And all of a sudden, the speaker is talking about, you know, runaway spending and other budgets, and like, what is it exactly that they're doing? If his position now is, could you just give us something, Mr. President?
Is that it, though, Philip?
Then
Can you
maybe
just give us something?
Well, Mr. President?
I would agree that I think that Boehner needs to be clear about what the ask is. He talked about 2011. If you go back to 2011, when he'd come out in a press conference, he'd say, our bottom line is that we want a dollar for dollar increase. For every dollar increase in the debt limit, we're going to have a dollar in spending cuts. And you could agree or disagree with whether that's a good policy, but that was a very clear statement of where he was coming from. And what we just heard there was, it was just kind of vague. You know, we have to sit down and hash something out, but what really is his demand, that wasn't really clear from what we just saw.
Jonathan, what is he looking for? What does he
looking for an escape hatch, right? And of course he is.
And doesn't it make you wonder if Speaker Boehner actually negotiated something with the president around some other part of the budget, that he would go back and have the exact same problem with Ted Cruz and those 30 or 40 House members anyway, because they didn't repeal Obamacare, or it didn't touch Obamacare. So then what is
there are going to be elements in both the House and the Senate and the Republican caucus that won't vote for anything. What Speaker Boehner is trying to do is get to the point where he can call a vote. Ideally for him, 1 vote to reopen the government and to raise the debt ceiling, because it's easier to call 1 vote than 2. He wants to have something in there that can give him some cover.
And it can't just be repealing the medical device tax. It has to be something bigger.
Something more than that. But obviously he knows that he's not going to get shutting down the president's entire health care program.
Right.
So what's something in the middle? That's what he's grasping for. The reason he's not talking about anything, because I don't think he knows what it looks like yet, but he knows that he has to get something. And the fact that we're getting closer to October 27th, I'm sorry, the 17th rather, I think he recognizes that he's got to have something, and something fast.
And I think the problem with the medical advice tax too is an issue, is that the reason why they picked the individual mandate is that, and this whole idea of
delaying the
individual mandate, is it has a certain populist appeal, right? You know, they delayed it for
business,
corporations,
right,
but not for individuals.
Right.
If they end up with the medical device tax, then it's just them ending up basically giving a break to K Street.
Yeah.
So, and it's something like $4 or $5 billion a year. It's not.
And it would raise the deficit
potatoes.
too, right?
Yeah. And we were talking about this a second ago, which is just that when this 2011 deal broke apart, and you can blame, this is not false equivalence, you literally can blame either side. President Obama changed what he was asking for because a group of bipartisan senators all of a sudden had a deal, so, you know, quote unquote a deal, and so he raised the amount of tax he wanted to, I think, 1.2 trillion as opposed to 800 billion. And then it wasn't clear that Speaker Boehner had the votes anyway, and he didn't return President Obama's phone call for like a whole day. So there are questions about how that was handled. Does Speaker Boehner know how to negotiate for the caucus? Does he even have a handle on it when he goes into the president? Basically, the Democrats will go along with almost anything he wants. Does Boehner have that? Does he know what he needs?
I think the bigger problem is that a lot of the lowest hanging fruit was already sort of negotiated. Right. I mean, they already negotiated a lot of the discretionary spending. Medicaid is never going to be touched by Democrats. The Medicare cuts that Democrats would accept are more of the variety of the types of centralized cost controls that we saw in Obamacare, which Republicans don't want. They want to move toward more of a Ryan-type system, which Democrats would never accept. So I think that's the problem. And I think that another thing is that what we saw in past budget agreements is that when Republicans wouldn't give way on the tax front, and they wouldn't agree to increase taxes, what their concession to Democrats was cutting the defense budget. But I think that after the sequester and after the budgetary caps that were put into place, even before the sequester, I think that there's not much more appetite among Republicans to give into more defense cuts.
Hold that thought. We're going to take a very quick